Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom and we are once again live on YouTube for the Championship Preview. Please make yourself known if you are in the feed. We are getting ever closer to the end of the Championship season. Only 5 games to go now for all bar 4 of the teams, and once again we can class this one as a 3-game week. We've got this weekend stuff and then it goes off to that Easter period. Friday, Monday, everybody plays, so another 3-game week, 2 in a row here. First place, well, that looks a little bit sewn up, but the second and third race for automatic is hotter than ever. Bristol and Villa made big strides in the playoff race. They're closing in on that, those two in 5th and 6th. Still 1 from 4 for the final relegation spot, and Ipswich will be mathematically down this weekend if they do not beat Birmingham. We're going to go through every single game, so do get your comments in on the game I'm talking about. We'll do general questions at the end and help me out with the predictions on this one as we go through. So first up is Wigan versus Norwich. Norwich go to Wigan on Sunday. I will be at this game, so look out for my match review sort of 2:30, 3 o'clock sort of time. Norwich with a big following going up to Wigan. The winning streak for Norwich ended this past midweek against Reading with that really late equaliser from Rinomhota, making that one 2-2. But the Canaries still on a huge run. 1 defeat in the league this calendar year. That was up at Preston. The gap stayed at 7 points over third place Sheffield United. So really a net gain for Norwich this week. Well, net as you were really. So Matt says Norwich 3, Wigan 1. No Powell for Wigan. I didn't know that, so we'll see how that one pans out. Buendia suspended. Had the first game of his 3-match ban against Reading. Todd Cantwell comes in. Be interesting to see if he keeps his spot. He only lasted 70 minutes in that one before Jordan Rhodes replaced him. Norwich have got a good couple of centre midfielders on the bench, Leitner and Vrancic, so maybe McLean could move forward, but Farker has been loath to change any part of his team during this winning streak, so maybe Cantwell gets another go, and if they find themselves behind, that would change. Wigan, they've lost ground this week, now 21st in the collection of 3 teams on 41 points, with Rotherham behind by 2 points on 39 there. So if Rotherham can get a win over Stoke, with Wigan playing on a Sunday, Wigan could start this game down in the bottom 3. We shall see how it pans out. The Latics only have 1 win in 11 games, but unbeaten in the last 7 at home. My prediction for this one, even though Wigan are good at home, I assume that Norwich will have too much strength for them. Although all these Norwich fans telling me that they never win without Buendia. Well, Buendia is not around, so we'll see. That Wigan home record is a bit weird down the bottom there. A bit like Forest, actually. Good at home, bad away, that sort of team. So there is a chance Wigan could snatch something. If Reading did it, then Wigan could. But I think in front of that big stand full of Norwich fans, I think Norwich are going to be able to get this one done on Sunday. So I'm going to go for an away win for Norwich. Like I said, I will be at this game. Richard says, Birmingham City going to relegate you. I don't think it's down to Birmingham, Richard, but there you go. New Day says, make sure I go to all Leeds games. I will be at a couple of Leeds games before now and the end of the season. Matt says, Paul Cook doing a good job at Wigan. Any team that goes up from League One and survives, that is a good job in my books. I do agree there, Matt. Let's go on to this race for the top two. Brilliant race this. Leeds back into second place as it flip-flops again. Tom, no, I won't be at the town game tomorrow. It is my Mrs. Grandma's 90th birthday. No football for me tomorrow. I have to go to a birthday party in Dunstable. I'm very sorry that we know Ipswich Review tomorrow. Leeds versus Sheffield Wednesday. A good showing from Leeds to go to Preston and win, and especially for Bamford. Bamford was kind of cast as the weak link in the defeat against Birmingham, missing those 3 good chances there. And he goes back and he goes to Deepdale and he scores twice. So good work from Bamford when the doubters were out for him. Leeds, once again, they're going to play after Sheffield United, which is a bit of a pattern that we're going to see emerging. These teams not going to play at the same time much until the last day, really. Andrew says 2-0 Leeds. Bielsa says he imagines, he doesn't say directly as he has done, he says he imagines it will be the same players playing. So that would mean Bamford in over Roof up front, Phillips over Forshaw. Bit of experience on the bench, Dallas and Berardi. Be interesting to see if Jack Clark finds his way back onto the bench. He was rested, not even in the squad. And Stevens came in from the under-23s against Preston in the week. Wednesday bounced back from their first loss. They lost at Villa at the weekend. Looked like a bit of a decisive loss, but straight back on it and they beat Forest 3-0. Jake says 1-1. New Day says, I sense a George Boyd special. George Boyd did score a great goal. No, sorry, it was Mateus, but George Boyd scored in the previous game. Rich says Leeds 2, Wednesday 1. So a lot of people seeing this as a tight game. I think I agree. The Owls are 6 points off the playoff spot. We know the form has been good under Bruce. And Stevens going for an away win in this one. Even if Wednesday can't beat Leeds, we know they're going to make it hard. Bruce is good at this tweakery and he'll enjoy going up against Bielsa. Do you know what? I could see Wednesday getting a gnarly draw out of this one. Gonna be a tough one with Leeds. It depends whether they hit those heights and get into that turbo mode, in which case no one can stop them. But I think this one might end in a draw. I think Bruce might bore the pants off us and take a point in this one. Let's see. Moving on, Sheffield United versus Millwall. Get your predictions in the feed. I can see everything you say down the side, so well worth doing that. The Blades 1 point behind Leeds, and as I said, they play Millwall before Leeds play against Sheffield Wednesday, so they're going to want to get this one done or dusted. That draw at Birmingham means that out of the top 3, Blades have picked up the least points with a draw and a defeat in the past 3 games. Danny says Blades to win. Stephen says Blades to win. Still not sure on Jack O'Connell. Chris Wilder's being fairly coy about that one. Jack O'Connell's calf. The decision's been made, but we're obviously not going to find out. More predictions for Sheffield United win here. I would imagine if O'Connell isn't fit, we'll either see Craney at centre-back, Stevens wing-back, or Stevens goes centre-back and Dowell plays wing-back. Gary Medine made his return over at Birmingham, and I think a tall player is very, very useful when you're playing against Millwall, particularly from a defensive point of view, and just softening up those big guys they've got at the back. So maybe Medine comes in over Sharp or McGoldrick. Wilder has not been afraid to switch it about with his front two. The Lions had a decent chance against QPR to pull away from Rotherham a little bit. They ended the game 0-0, and so they're locked in that load of teams on 41 points. Most of the predictions here back in Sheffield United, by the way. So difficult games coming up for Neil Harris. They do have a game in hand. That's against Bristol City, who are on good form. And they still face 3 of the top 6 sides, Villa and Bristol City, as well as this game. All of that being said, Millwall did scare the hell out of Leeds, taking the lead twice in that one. And it was a 3-2 win in the end for Leeds. Resounding for the Blades here. Well, then as soon as I say that, someone predicts them to lose. Millwall have also won at Derby and Birmingham in the past couple of months. My prediction for this one, I think Sheffield United will have too much. I think they're going to go intense on this one, and I think they might have it over by half time. I can see them coming through, which means if my predictions come right and Leeds draw and Sheffield United win, then it'll be another leapfrog. We will see what happens. Moving on, West Brom versus Preston. Caretaker boss James Shan, his honeymoon is over. Get your predictions in down the side for West Brom Preston. Second straight loss for Shan against Bristol City this past week. Horrible first 20 minutes. 3-0 down the Baggies were and got it back to 3-2. But good team news for West Brom. And when we say West Brom should be higher in the table, this is what we mean. Look at these players possibly coming back. Kieran Gibbs off the bench at Bristol City. Higazi back from suspension. Matt Phillips could come back. And then there's Gareth Barry in the background as well. So you can see some really good players here. The Baggies highly likely to stay in fourth. So they could lose momentum there. We've seen these teams who are in the playoffs and not moving up or down. They sometimes struggle in the playoffs. The teams coming from below have a bit more momentum on them. Preston had been pushing towards the playoffs, that amazing run, but 3 straight defeats has kind of put paid to that, and they're looking more mid-table-ish now. Ben Pearson suspended yet again, another red card there. We'll see what Alex Neil comes up with. On paper, obviously, West Brom should win. I think this one might be a draw. I think Preston might have a bit too much in terms of just being a better practiced team than West Brom. So I'm going to go for a draw for this one. John says 1-1 written all over it. I'll go with that one. Villa versus Bristol City. This looks a brilliant game on paper. If I was going to be at a game and not a 90th birthday party, I would be at this one. 5th versus 6th. Nice bonus for the playoff chasers though, because they know one of 5th or 6th is going to be dropping points, if not both, in the event of a draw here. Villa, 7 wins on the trot. They keep up the pace. Great 10-man showing. Rotherham, not an easy place to go for anybody, and they did it with 10 men. They're going to be without Mings. He got a red card. Hauser injured. Tuan Zabi is back. Jedinak possibly with him if Chester isn't back as well. So possible problems at centre-half for Villa. Bristol City have been on a great run since international break. They've won at the Blades. They won at Borough. They beat West Brom as well. Only that 2-2 draw at home to Wigan, that late equaliser. But in the big picture, Bristol City have had a really nice little run, and the teams around them, the results have gone their way. So they look nicely in sync with that game in hand on a few teams as well. Now, Lee Johnson went all covert with a back 4 warming up, but then playing Adam Webster in midfield against West Brom in midweek. So we'll see if he does the same thing here. Webster certainly well known to us Ipswich fans as a good ball player, certainly good enough to play in midfield, certainly in this division, let's just say. God, predictions. They've been fairly mixed in the feed here. I imagine Villa Park is very, very well sold for this one. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised with any result. I just think Villa... I think it's either a Villa win or a draw, this one. Let's sit on the fence and go for a scoring draw, and possibly these two we might see in the playoffs at some point in the future. I wouldn't be surprised by any result. So the Villa fans in here saying it's a sellout, so that could work in Villa's favour as well. Difficult one to call. New Day says 2-2. Let's go something like that. Moving on, Borough versus Hull, the battle of the yo-yo clubs of recent seasons up at the Riverside. Borough finally ended their horrible losing streak at Bolton in midweek, but it looks like it's a bit too late for Borough as they sit in 7th spot. 80 says, I'd be surprised if it was 0-0. 2 goals for Ashley Fletcher in midweek. Get your predictions in for Borough Hull down the side here. A few 0-0s coming in straight away. So Pulis still trying different stuff, still not hitting on the right formula. Would need a good run now for them to get back into playoffs. And we have talked about the implications of Borough, Gibson and Pulis. If they don't make the playoffs, there could be trouble there. And I don't know how many saleable assets they've got in there to get down that money when the parachute payments go. Hull have won 3 straight games. They've sprung straight back up the table. They're in 9th. They've got some hard games after this one, but the recent form obviously very good with those 3 straight wins. We know Hull can score against anyone with Bowen and Grzycki. Campbell back in the goals in midweek too. I've got a sneaky suspicion for Hull in this one. You just see Borough as this kind of static wall type thing, and Hull with the dribbling ability of Bowen and Grzycki. You think they'd be able to cut through there. Let's go for a crazy away win. I don't do very many away wins. I'm with ST here. He says Borough 0, Hull 2. Let's go for an away win because I'm quite boring with my predictions and often go for the home team. So let's say Hull are going to win. Bowen or Pablo, says Matt. Pablo. Derby versus Bolton. Derby, God, they need a win. And looking at the accounts they've published and some of the financial to-in and fro-in here, they really need a promotion, Derby. 5 points off the playoffs. 2 wins in their last 10, Derby. I thought it was all coming back round when Mount got back and they stuck 6 past Rotherham. But since then, draw and a defeat for the Rams. JLH says 2-0 Derby. Scott says 3-0 Derby. 80 says poor Bolton. I think we can all get behind that. We'll see if Lampard sticks with the same formula. Should be a good chance to get back on track. Resounding for Derby in the feed here. Bolton just feel like they need to get to the end of the season and not go into liquidation, find a good buyer and get all this nonsense sorted out. I just read on doing the research that the scout can't afford to get to games because he hasn't been paid for 3 months. So bit of a ridiculous situation now at Bolton as this hangs on and they try and find a new buyer. Bolton 9 points adrift, so very, very nearly done for them. And I think I agree with everybody in the feed. This has got home win all over it, hasn't it? So I'm going for Derby in this one. And if Derby do win, in fact, Ridley asked, do I think Derby will make the top 6? Well, I think Derby will win this game. And I think, obviously, Aston Villa and Bristol City are playing each other. So, I think the gap's going to close this week. Whether they can make the top 6 by the end of the season, I do not know. And does Mr. Lampard have what it takes in a playoff shootout? QPR versus Swansea. Let me know your predictions down the side. QPR, Swansea. Swansea have had a lovely old week, playing really well. 3 straight wins, 9 goals. Good feeling back at the Liberty. Selena missed Stoke in midweek. He may be back, but they're looking fairly settled and they're much better now. McBurney's in. Nudo says 3-1 Swansea. Rangers move on to the 3rd game under John Eustace. Started very badly, losing 4-0 at Norwich. 0-0 at Millwall isn't a disaster because if they had have lost that, then it starts to get a little bit squeaky for them. Rangers are going to be without Bidwell once again, fairly settled other than that. I think Rangers look a safe bet on the basis of the teams below them not being very good at all. But a couple more L's in their column, and you could see 1 or 2 teams catch them. I just feel that at the moment it needs 4 teams to catch Rangers. So we will see. I think this is another away win. Let's go for an away win. Swansea to win at QPR. John Eustace to get off to a losing start in his first home game. Maybe his only home game. We'll see what happens with the Rangers manager job. Right, Reading versus Brentford. Get me in down the side. Rumour has it Carlos Carvajal at Loftus Road. Interesting. Nick says if Ipswich get back to the Premier League, is that the end of the channel? I think that's the end of the world if Ipswich get back to the Premier League. Can't see that happening in the next million years. Reading versus Brentford. Get your predictions in down the side. I saw Brentford on Wednesday. They beat my team Ipswich fairly easily. All the hallmarks of a Brentford team in a good moment. Nice and open shape. Good passing, good front 3. Streaky season, though, has stitched them up. Couple of draws predicted there. Reading weren't lucky against Norwich. They defended well and took them to the 86 minutes. The contention I've got about Reading is if you read the stats of any of their games, they get outshot by about, I think Norwich had like 24 shots or something crazy in that game and Reading only had a few. Reading's finishing really kind of belies the rest of their game. But if other people were at the game and they saw it different than me, I'm only looking at the stats there. But this is fairly consistent since Gomez has taken over Reading, that they don't have many shots and they really make the most of them. Without good finishers, Reading would almost certainly be losing a lot more games. Still no Barbe or Bentley for Brentford, so possibilities for Reading to get at them a little bit. Useful point up at Norwich, and as I said, their finishing triumphed there. Sorry, my phone just rang. Let me shut that off. Go away. They're still in trouble, Reading, though, on 41. Oliveira will be back for the Royals. Obviously, he couldn't play against Norwich, embargoed against them. I can see Reading getting a point in this one. I think this one will be a scoring draw, which is probably not that much help to Reading if anybody around them can get in there and get the win. Norwich would have been all but up if they hadn't equalised. Yes, you are right, Ryan. Norwich are up anyway, Ryan. So, just a matter of time with that one. Matt says Oliveira is a good striker. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that at this level. Oliveira, very good if he doesn't fall out with everybody. Stoke versus Rotherham. This one might not be pretty, mightn't it? Stoke have been putting the nils on, and we know Rotherham like to get everything forward. Get your predictions in down the side here. Stoke versus Rotherham. Stoke, after all those clean sheets, went under at Swansea. Edwards and Martin's Indy both red carded, but Martin's Indy overturned, so he will be available. Shawcross could return. You would think Shawcross would be useful against the Millers in this one, given their propensity to get long balls and long throws in there. Tom Ince still doubtful. Rotherham had the lead against Villa, didn't they? Playing against 10 men, that man advantage, and they didn't. I know, Villa are Villa and Rotherham are Rotherham, but that was a chance for Rotherham. They need to put these wins on the board. I think most of the neutrals are kind of behind Rotherham on the basis of their spend being so low. It would be quite the triumph for them. Williams says Rotherham only one away win all season. Yeah, but that was recently against QPR, so they have shown that they can do it when the chips are down. Joe Newell and Billy Jones could both return. I'm going to go with my heart on this one because I want a chase at the bottom of the table here, and Rotherham are pretty much guaranteed someone's going to mess up of those teams on 41 points. So I'm going to go for a Rotherham win. That's with my heart, not with my head. Some kind of 1-0 type throw-in type thing, just on the basis that I want this chase and I don't want Rotherham to go down with a whimper. But that's a bit of a biased comment by me, really. We'll see what happens. Stoke versus Rotherham. Right, last one. Ipswich versus Birmingham, and the big R goes next to Ipswich if they don't win this game. I mean, realistically, Ipswich have been down for about a month now since they lost to Reading, and that gap went to sort of 12 points. It is currently 14 points with 5 games to go. So, to be fair, it's all but done already, given that Millwall and Reading play each other at the end of the season, and the goal difference is massive. But it will be mathematically done if Ipswich lose to Blues. James Collins, Cole Hughes, Gwen Edwards, John Nolan could get back in, but Paul Lambert is very much looking towards next season, so maybe older players and loan players don't get in for this one. The Blues are in good nick. They beat Leeds. I was at that game. They drew against the Blades. Few issues in centre midfield, but I think we know what to expect with Birmingham. Difficult one for Ipswich. If you watch our excellent Blue Monday podcast, the brilliant Harry from Bath said Ipswich either draw 1-1 or lose 2-0. So I'm hoping this one will be 1-1. A few calls for that one. But Ipswich, it'll kind of be everyone can move on once that R goes next to their name, and they can properly plan for next season. Ipswich to do Norwich a favour in the last 2 games, Ryan. Very, very unlikely, my friend. A couple of difficult games there. So that's all 12 of the games. I'm very happily to do questions here. Can Will Keane return? Yeah, we might see Will Keane back. Hopefully he'll sign for Ipswich for next season. He could be a good player at a lower level. Just depends whether Marcus Evans wants to pay high wages. Get any questions in down the side here, general championship stuff. I can stay on the feed a while longer. As I said, I'm not going to be at a game. I've got family stuff on Saturday, but I will be at Wigan and Norwich. Grealish, call up. Agree or disagree? I'd like to see Grealish get a chance. Absolutely, yeah. Going to miss me next season. I'll still be here next season doing championship stuff. Obviously, if your team get promoted, then you can still watch. Are Ipswich SHIT, Ben? Well, yes, of course they are. Look at the table. Do I rate Callum Robinson, Jay Murphy? Yeah, very, very much so. I really, really do rate Callum Robinson. Good to see him back for Preston. Best playoff final, probably Sunderland Charlton, where it was 4-4 and Mendonca scored a hat-trick. Would you rather be a top team in League One or a mid-table Championship team? Top table in League One, I think, given we've done the other. Does finishing third have a bogey feeling in the playoffs? I think that's Scott who asked that. No, it doesn't, Scott. Last 13 seasons, third place has got promoted 7 times. The playoff does work for third place, and this season could work for third place as well. Most gutted I've ever been after a football match. God, not gutted, but numb. Ipswich going 1-0 up at Norwich in the 89th minute, and then Norwich equalising in the 95th minute. We thought we'd seen every possible way Ipswich could stuff up against Norwich, and this was a new one even on me. Che Adams or Billy Sharp? This season, Billy Sharp, but obviously for the long term, Che Adams. Thoughts on Alex Neil potentially going to West Brom? Good fit, that. Best out-and-out wingers in the Championship. Oh, that's a difficult one. Help me out with the wingers. Out-and-out wingers. Do we mean in a 4-4-2? Because I don't class 4-2-3-1 as wingers. So in a 4-4-2, probably it's only really Birmingham that do that. Help me out with the wingers. Did Pablo Hernandez get robbed by not being in the team of the year? Yes, I think they went. Did they go 4-3-3? They just went with a stupid formation that he didn't fit in. So Bowen says Matt Lumsden. That's a 4-1-4-1. So yeah. Do I think Villa can catch West Brom? 4 points in it? Possibly. They have to beat Bristol City though, don't they? Do I think Ipswich will struggle next season? All depends on the wages Marcus Evans pays. If he pays even kind of 2/3 of what he's paying this season and takes the hit for 1 year, then they should be absolutely fine in terms of having a really, really decent playing squad in there. RQPRST, I don't know what that means. Grealish or Pablo? I'd take either of them. Probably in flesh, Grealish and Pablo are the 2 best players I've seen this season. I do love myself a centre midfielder, but in terms of just, if you want to just watch a player during the game, those 2 are really fantastic to watch in terms of balance and poise and passing and dribbling. We're lucky to have them. Who's the best player in the Championship in the last 10 years? Houlihan, Maddison, Vardy? God, that's a difficult one. Very, very difficult one. Probably one of the Newcastle ones when they came down. It's excluding your Hernandez who can't play wide, aren't wingers. That's what I meant. I don't know what that means. We were talking out and out wingers. I class an out and out winger as one who plays in the 4-4-2. What did I predict for Norwich Wigan? Predicted a Canaries win. Blades or Leeds to go up? Don't ask me that, Andy. Too hard to call. Just too hard to call. Either they've both been brilliant, haven't they, Blades and Leeds? Will I be at the playoff games? Yes, I will. But I heard a rumour that both the playoff games, they're not going to do Friday, Saturday, so I might have to miss one of the first one. Think Villa are cheating by having the inventor of FFP as their CEO. Villa have done well to get around FFP so far. The share bonuses got them out of it last time. We'll see how they go. I think they might get out of it by going up this season. We will see. FFP change then has little or no impact. How would that be cheating? If it's in the rules, it's not cheating. Derby's owner has just sold his stadium to himself only to lease it back them. There are always ways and means of getting around the rules with this FFP business. Right, if that is it for all the questions, then I will... FFP only counts if your face doesn't fit. Not necessarily, Chris. I think if your accountants aren't bang on it, FFP doesn't fit. Have the EFL approved that stadium? Yeah. Derby have got around it. They're going to get away with that. I think all legal. They'll change the rules though after that. I'm sure they will. Villa favourites to win the playoffs? Well, let's see. Reece James is good. I have good, and how good is he? Reece James is excellent. Played beautifully last times I've seen him play at right back. Actually been moved into centre midfield for Wigan. He's been so influential at right back. Obviously, I incurred the wrath of a million Norwich fans by putting him in over Max Aarons in my team of the season. Just a bit of fun, and both excellent young right backs. And Chelsea, really, the guy on loan at Bristol City, absolutely excellent. If I could take one Reading player at Ipswich, who would I take? Well, Nelson Oliveira, obviously. Right. let's call that a day on the preview. I'm not going to be about tomorrow, but I will be at Norwich Wigan, and then I'll do a review maybe Sunday, probably Monday because I'll be Blue Monday. Thank you everybody for watching. Always appreciate the support down the side here and all the information you guys give me about your teams. Quickly, how was Ben Rama the other day? He was great, Patrick. Drifted in from left into the 10 position. Yeah, good player. I think he's got more of an upside than Mopai as well. So really enjoyed watching Ben Rama. Right.